I hope you don't get the sickness.
My boy Kurt is a stay-at-home dad, watching Disney movies he never had. His daughter digs through all the VHS, crushing the classics in a princess dress. Informed like Scuttle, Kurt's got your ticket, making it real like Jiminy Cricket. Most off the Captain Hook, but if the Tweedledum, he'll be taking more shots than Bambi's mom. Leaves him raised like Simba, or cracked like the beast dishes. He'll show you a whole new world, you won't need 3 wishes. Stay-at-home Disney dad. I will always remember being at my cousin's house and how electrifying the Disney Sunday night movie felt as the intro played. No one would know what it would be. It could be anything, and it was always Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and the room would groan and they would turn it off. This is what I get now. No ads, we jump right into Walt Disney Presents. We start with old-timey medieval castle art, and I suddenly realize I know nothing about this movie. This old art is terrifying. There's a bird clown puppet thing hitting a devil, and that's something I'm gonna see when I close my eyes for a few nights now. There's been many go into one of these movies blind before on this journey, but this is next level for me. What am I about to watch? Isn't this Angela Lansbury? Now there's drawings of army men storming a castle. This is cross-genreing, and I don't know what to think. The last image is army men shooting at a lady riding a broomstick and some medieval knights. Whoo boy, we got a real footage. England, August in the year 1940. Again, a time for valor, a time of whispered events, now faded with the passing years, end quote. A car pulls up to a man painting over a street sign. He asks where Pepperidge Eye is, and the painter says he couldn't say as he paints over the street sign that says Pepperidge Eye. And I'll be damned if that isn't one of the most brilliantly random and effective opening moments of a movie I've ever seen. Is this comedy? Is this horror? What is this? I'm immediately hooked. The sign painter asks if the driver is a Nazi. He says he's a British officer. Sign guy says, that's what he'd say if he was a Nazi. Is this an orphanage? There's a bunch of kids lined up and they do a roll call. Carrie, Charles, and Paul Rollins. We get marching soldiers who are singing. Is this the Home Guard? I still have no idea what to expect in this movie. And it's electrifying. The Home Guard has marched into this town to check on their military strategies. Angela Lansbury shows up on a motorbike and picks up a parcel from the post office. It's from a Professor Brown, and the mail lady is all nosy, and Angela isn't giving her any info about what Professor Brown has been sending her. The lady at the post office also apparently runs the orphanage next door. She introduces Mrs. Price to the 3 Rollins kids, all the way from London. They have been evacuating kids from the war zone, and it's up to this lady to find them homes. She had 45 new kids today. Price is like, you want me to take these kids? Hard no. But sorry, there's official orders for her to take the 3 of them because Lansbury lives alone in a huge house. She agrees as long as they find a new home for the kids as soon as possible. Wow, Angela Lansbury playing an unlikable character. This is unbroken ground. The kids are amazed because the house is so big and that she lives alone. There's horror movie music under the seat. A black cat snarls at the kids. The cat's name is Cosmic Creepers. All right then, Angela tells them to wash themselves or they won't get supper. Once again, out of the kid actors, the girl is acting circles around the boys. This is a constant theme in these older live-action Disney movies, and I kind of love it. It's night, and Mrs. Price runs downstairs in the dark and unwraps her parcel. It's from the College of Witchcraft. She's now an apprentice witch. She's talking to her cat, and the package is her first broom, and I'm seeing nothing but blueprints for the show Sabrina the Teenage Witch and the Harry Potter franchise. She side straddles the broom because she's a lady, right? She tries to fly and it fails. I want the black cat to be Salem to start dropping like zingers left, right, and center at Lansbury, who sucks at flying. She rides it the normal way with it between her legs, and the cat meows and she says, I know it's not ladylike. Solid gold. It works this way, and I'm watching Angela Lansbury flying on a broomstick through the night sky because she's a witch. The kids are sneaking out to run away and go home. They see her flying a broomstick in the air, and they just accept the fact that she's a witch, and they carry on with their escape. But then Price crashes, and they run to her. The girl wants to keep escaping back to London, but the boy has a better idea. Let's blackmail the witch. Blacksmith, fail. The next morning at breakfast, they call her on being a witch, and they tell her she needs to cook better food, and they no longer want to wash. And then the kid pushes his luck even further, and he wants cash. Now Price is on the offense, and she's like, have you ever thought about the danger you might be in if I am a witch? And then she turns to Charles. No, then she turns Charles into a rabbit, and the cat chases him. The cat corners the rabbit. At the last second, the cat changes back to Charles. She tries to explain how her work is important and secret, so they make a deal. The kids want something important of hers, so she doesn't backstab them. She says that's fair, and she offers them a spell. Paul sees a jar called poisoned dragon livers, and Paul wants to know if the dragon was poisoned and then had his liver removed, or if it was removed and then the liver was poisoned. Fair question. I like the cut of this kid's jib. She gives the kids a traveling spell in a bed knob, but only Paul can use it. She gets another letter, and because of the war, they had to shut down the school of witchcraft, or she's out. She explains she needs to use the spell. Paul says, "What does that have to do with me knob?" Paul asks a lot of good questions. She needs to go to London. She might be able to stop the war. They're packing up to leave. Charlie is not a believer. He doesn't fancy making a fool of himself. Yeah, English sass. Lansbury breaks into a song as she prepares the bed for flight, and typing that just made me really happy. Girl actress looks familiar. Charlie says the address is the witchcraft school and rotates the knob 3 times. Magic starts magicking. The cat scares Paul, who jumps on the bed at the last second, and they are in flight. Special defects as the bed flies over the earth and through time and space. This is pretty trippy for Disney. They arrive in London, and Paul is still skeptical. Like, dude, it's the streets of London, so the smoke machine is set on high because fog. They find Professor Brown, and he's a street magician. Didn't see that coming. And it's that famous actor. They're slowly cruising through the streets of London in a bed, and no one's batting an eye. As a magician, he sucks, and the crowd leaves. He snaps, "Ladies, don't leave now and regret lost opportunities later." And if I had $1 every time I used that line after a first date. He meets Mrs. Price and tries to use a mating whistle on her, and he raises his eyebrows at her. I'm not sure if I can laugh at that in 2021. She says she's a student, and he says, "Oh, no refunds." The kids tackle him and kind of hold him, and she says a spell that turns him into a rabbit. Then he comes back, and he's like, "How did you do that?" She says it was one of your spells, and he's shocked because the spells he gave her were nonsense. He lifted from some book. He had no idea they worked for her. She wants to see the book. He says, sure, they can discuss his ideas at the same time. This dude is like 90% rapey vibe. He hops on the bed and can't believe his travel spell works as well. Once again, I thought I would hate this movie, and I'm kind of really loving it. They soar to his house, and apparently time flies in bed. He's a squatter in an empty house because there's a giant sign that says, "Warning, undetonated bomb detected on the premise," or something like that. And they're all terrified, and he just kind of shrugs. Free rent, and he's not dead yet. She's grilling him about the book, and the kids explore the bomb house by candlelight. I mean, be careful, kids, don't step on the hidden bomb and kill us all, but also have fun. His pitch, he wants to be a Hollywood magician with Price as his sexy assistant who actually has magic. Then he sings a song about she has the know-how and he has the show-how. And I want to hate that lyric, but I can't. Mrs. Price is looking for the book in his library, and she climbs up one of those rolling ladder things that all libraries have. And I gotta say, Mr. Brown's eye level getting dangerously close to the bottom of Lansbury's dress. He continues to dance around and finally produces the book, but it's only half there. That's why he closed down the school. He ran out of book. He bought this book on a street corner and split it with someone. Like they each took half. Sounds like another excuse to fly the bed. They head to Portobello Road. Oh, this is the rich part of the city. I'll bet here they only drive king-sized beds. I think Mr. Brown gets propositioned by a couple prostitutes and he just dismisses them. The girl is trying on expensive jewelry while one of the other boy kids starts drawing sculpture faces like the Joker in '89 Batman. Yes, gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Mr. Brown sits at the piano in the street, and all these soldiers that are chatting up the prostitutes immediately stop, grab instruments, and start playing along. Then they perform a full-on choreographed dance number. So either they haven't been at war very long, or they've been at war too long. Then we get the low-key racist part of the movie is some, we will just say, foreign soldiers in turbans step up, and they also start dancing. The music immediately changes to like a sitar and a flute. I think this is supposed to be like a dance-off between two armies, and like, why can't all wars be settled like this? The kids watch another street performer who's like moonwalking, and this is just all filler at this point. Now, Scottish army arrives, and they perform their choreographed dance number in the street. Now, 2 old housewives are dancing in the street, and all the women join in, including the 2 prostitutes, who I don't think are actually prostitutes anymore. I don't know. Next up is an army playing the steel drums, and I feel like it would be racist to assume this army is who this army is supposed to be. So I'm just going to move on. While all this dancing is going on, Price is desperately looking for the other half of the book. She gets sucked into a dance and looks to be enjoying herself. What is the deal? with Angela Lansbury. Can we talk about this? She looks the same here in 1971 as she did in 81, 91, 2001, 2021. Suddenly some mob guy shows up and pulls a knife on them and tells them to come with him. So they get led into a basement with some old guy mulling over the missing half of the book. He says, "There's nothing I wouldn't do to see this whole book together." And one of his lackeys says, "Or haven't done." And then he laughs like a pervert. And I'm just going to ignore the implications of that and continue the review. They exchange halves. Together, the book doesn't even show the magical 5 words needed to hone all the magic. There's a legend of a wizard who tried to change animals to humans who did, and then the animals ended up killing him, I think, or he got away with the star that had 5 words written on it, and those are the 5 words they need. It all points to an island that doesn't exist. The youngest kid says, "It does exist! It exists because this happens to be in the book I'm holding." He won't hand over the book to the bad guys, so the bad guys pull a knife on the kid, and the magician goes into business for himself and says, "He's gonna make the bed disappear." Paul says, "To the island of Nabubu," and does the thing, and they disappear, and the bad guy bumblers stare at each other in disbelief. The bed appears in water, like underwater, surrounded by animated fish who welcome them to Nabubu Lagoon. Animated fish tell them not to go up to the island. They end up in an underwater fish dance. While all of this is happening, I IMDb the cast. Cindy O'Callahan is Carrie and did little else. Her IMDb fun fact is that she has a son named Harry. Excuse me. Mr. Brown, of course, is the woman-hating dad from Mary Poppins, and he's in the Herbie movies as well. Can't wait. The dance ends when a fishing hook descends and all the fish scatter, and an animated bear hooks the bed and pulls it up, and the family comes out of the water with the bed, and we're treated to a scene where the real people interact with animation, and it will always blow my mind how good these scenes look for their age. While I was IMDbing the crew, there's an article called "Why We Never See Ian Wayhill in the Cast of Bedknobs and Broomsticks Anymore." Wow, clickbait. Most of them just did other things with their lives. A nerd bird in a tuxedo comes, and sorry, did I mention that the bear is dressed like the hot girl from Stranger Things? They want to see the king, but there's a horrible roaring coming from the royal tent. It's revealed the king is the greatest soccer player in the world, which I guess makes sense why he's so miserable. Imagine being the greatest at something in the world, and it's soccer. He's mad because the soccer cup can't take place today, and oh my god, this movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. We meet the king, and it's a half lion, half human. Is this a recycled character? He looks really familiar. Mr. Brown is willing to be the soccer ref so the soccer game could go on and make the king happy. They notice the king has the star thing that they're looking for hanging around his neck. The king's name is King Leonidas. Leonidas? And here we go. The animals are playing soccer. There's a crocodile and a cheetah and an elephant and a mouse and an ostrich and a kangaroo and a rhino. And I'm just going to duck out for a bit. We'll let all this happen. King is a lion that walks like a man, but sounds like a pirate. This is all very confusing. This is a very violent game, too. They're punching each other and kicking each other all over the field. Charles yells, "Ref, are you blind?" Which is pretty funny because he's the kid. The game ends. The king's team won. They say goodbye, and then the king realizes they've swapped his royal star necklace with the ref's whistle. They now have the star with the 5 magic words. Brown says he'll hold on to the star because women lose everything. Oof, 1971, this guy. King Lion notices the giant medallion is gone and charges towards the bed to kill them. Everyone is like, "Do something." Price says she hates doing, quote, "Charlie work," and says the spell. The Lion King changes into a rabbit. The bed transports them back home, but as soon as they arrive, the medallion disappears because apparently they can't take something from that world into their world. The news says there could be a possible German invasion in their small town, so keep your heads up. She wishes she could remember the words on the star medallion. Paul somehow remembers the words because it's in the book he's been carrying around forever. Like there's a diagram of the star medallion with the magical words on this whole time. Price says the words and nothing happens. Brown tells her to do it with flair, and he starts singing the magic words. It sounds like almost Hakuna Matata. Price says the words again and points her hands, and Brown's empty shoes start dancing. Okay, they're all singing and dancing and watching the devil's tap shoes. Now Price's empty nightgown comes to life and dances with Mr. Brown. She says she's not responsible for her nightgown's actions, and that's pretty funny. She asks the one kid what he's doing, and his reply, "I'm having a jolly good time." And now all the household objects are moving and dancing outside. A priest is about to knock on the door, and his hat gets sucked off, and then the nightgown flies out the front door and tackles him, and he just gets on his bike and rides away. Like, actually, Mr. Priest, you might need to be in there, pal, you know, with a house full of poltergeists and all. Brown, I guess, lives there now. He's now juggling apples until he steps on the cat's tail, and startled, he drops an apple in the soup and it splashes on his face, and everyone laughs and laughs at him. And they're laughing and they're laughing, and it goes on and on and on until it's so uncomfortable. Now the post office orphanage lady comes back and says she's found the kids a better home, but now Price and the kids want to stay together, and to put a stamp on it, they tell the orphanage lady that Mr. Brown is moving in, so they're going to be a family. And Mr. Brown just gets spooked and Can't really blame him. The kids are like, come on, be our new dad. And he says, I gotta go back to London right now. She says the children are gonna miss you. And we get individual shots of each of the kids being sad, but the last one spikes the camera. Brown is out of there. On the river, we see the boats of Nazi soldiers arriving. Uh-oh. Price puts the cat outside and sees the soldiers hiding in her yard. She runs back inside, but they kick down the door. The German army tell everyone they don't have to be scared. They're not in danger. They're just kicking down doors and causing a ruckus because they want word of this to get out to make people scared. Interesting take on the Nazis. I wonder if that was ever a thing. I really don't know. She threatens to turn them into bunnies, then her magic fails. Brown is sleeping at the train station and regrets his decision to leave the house. Oh my, Mr. Brown. He daydreams about Mrs. Price, Angela Lansbury, and some sort of like lacy teddy walking along the train tracks. Bedknobs and Broomsticks, everyone. Oh wait, maybe it's a magician's assistant attire? I'm not sure. I think it was a magician's assistant attire. Maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see. Brown sees the Nazis, they chase him, and he knocks two of them out with one punch. Go, Mr. Brown. Brown sneaks back into the house and the cat is hissing at him. To silence the cat, he covers the whole cat's head with both his hands. The Nazis hear him and they're searching for him. He's trying to find the correct rabbit spell and says, when will women learn to file things? He manages to turn himself into a rabbit at the last possible second and escapes past the Nazis. The Price and the kids are being relocated to some castle. Brown, who is a bunny who is white, is running through the streets. One Nazi wants to shoot the bunny and another Nazi stops him. Why in a movie that's already an almost staggering 2.5 hours would they make sure to include a scene to make sure you knew not all Nazis were bad people? Curious. Brown Bunny sneaks into the castle, then turns back into a human. In the castle, there's rooms full of old suits of armor and medieval weapons, and wow, I get the intro now. I get the pictures, this makes sense, and this is fantastic. Price holds her broom and tries her ultra spell, and it works. The medieval everything comes to life. This is pretty brilliant. About to suck to be a Nazis. The guard gets knocked out by a suit of armor punch. The other Nazis watch as floating objects and empty suits of armor approach, and this looks exactly like the scene from Army of Darkness. All the poltergeist armies line up on the hills. There's hundreds of them. Once again, I hate how much I'm into this. This is good stuff, pal. There's Price riding a broomstick with the Union Jack. She tells the ghost armies to advance. This is intense. There's happy music. If there were horror movie music, this would be absolutely terrifying. The Nazis try to stand their ground and open fire on the undead armies, and nothing happens. One suit of armor slowly pulls his helmet off to reveal he has no head. Then he shakes dozens of used bullets out of said helmet. That has to be one of the greatest flexes I've ever seen in a movie ever. There's tomfooleries. The Nazis try to kill these things and cannot. Again, without happy music playing, this would be instant nightmares. One suit of armor takes a machine gun, breaks it in half over his knee, and then as the Nazi runs away, he whips it at the running Nazi, and the strap of the gun wraps around his neck like a bola. Jeez! The Nazis retreat to the shores, and Mrs. Price hovers over them and smack talks them. They call her a witch, and they set off a surprise explosive wall, which sends her falling to the ground. The possessed army collapses as well. Uh-oh. And this movie continues. We're over 2 hours. This is like the seventh third act. The Home Guard shows up and drive the Nazis back into the water, and they run away. Mrs. Price doesn't want to be a witch anymore. In a weird swerve, Mr. Brown joins the Home Guard, absolutely max on Angela Lansbury, and then marches away happy with a machine gun over his shoulder to end the movie. Now, alone, those three things don't sound very fun, but together, that sounds like a banner day.
That's what I think about.
What do you think?
What we have is a concern about Curtis Anderson. His interviewing style is not the best. His personal appearance is not the best. I was wondering if the man has some kind of a hold over the channel that he's allowed to be employed for so long.